All right, in 3, 2, 1.
Run! Go! This is the podcast!
Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a podcast?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and
Podcast.
and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hey everyone, welcome to Get to the Podcast. That's Get to the Podcast with the number 2. My name is Diego D'Souza.
I'm Nick Gambino.
And I'm Neil Carson.
And I don't like this podcast right now.
You don't like this podcast?
Yeah,
Well, you don't.
This
quit.
episode is.
Oh, this
episode. Let me rephrase that. This
Okay.
episode.
I think it's great.
Yeah, because you're a goddamn anarchist.
Oh, this is so good.
Yeah. So. All right, it's funny because in March of last, so exactly a year ago, we were talking about this subject, right? And
did.
Steven Spielberg versus Netflix, right? And this episode's gonna be a little bit different, but exactly a year ago, we did touch upon that. We did a whole episode on this subject.
I actually don't remember where I stood then.
It's a different argument right now because.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than what we talked about.
Basically
it's similar.
So basically what's happening is Steven Spielberg apparently is going to be going and talking in front of the Academy Board of Governors for, the Oscars, the Academy Awards. And he is eager to change the rules of what's allowed to be nominated for an Academy Award.
Yeah.
What can be nominated for an Oscar. Because to exclude movies like, okay, for instance, Roma. Roma was nominated for a bunch of Oscars this year, including Best Film and Best Cinematography, Best Director, Best Foreign Language Film, which we talked about. In and itself is kind of strange that it was Best Foreign Language Film plus Best Film.
I think that's very strange.
That's sort
I
of
don't
like
think
saying,
so.
No, I think it's like a Best Animated Film plus Best Picture. It just seems like...
Yeah, why
No.
even have the two separate
Yeah, why have
categories
to have
and then
separate
include the
Well,
same
I think
film?
it's
I'm like one
to
or the
me. I
other.
think of it as you have a small category, then you have a bigger category. So they
then
they
why
were
have it?
eliminated.
Yeah, but-
they
Just
were
do Best
selected
Film.
for
Just do
this
Best
one.
Film.
and
Like
they
the
were
Green
For, no, I
Green
get,
Book
it's not
would
like
never
you're
would
wrong.
have been in Best Foreign Film. None of the
Green
other
what?
the Green Book. None of the other films that were nominated for Best Picture could have been in that category, but Roma was, and they included it in the Best Picture. It just didn't make any sense. It's weird.
It seems weird.
I understand.
Why have
I just don't think it's wrong.
I feel like Best Foreign Film is equivalent to Best Picture. It's just focusing on films outside the United States.
Yeah.
But then how can you have, like, obviously all films
it
are going to
just
be able to
seems-
cross borders, but like,
I'm just
so
saying,
it's just a weird
pick
thing.
one. Just make it
was
better.
I think because
just nominated for Best Picture.
Best Picture
Yeah.
is more recognized than
They should have just only did Best Picture then, and
that's-
not Best Foreign Film.
Yeah,
Because he
I
won-
agree with that. See, it's not
Unless
a wrong
they-
or right thing. It's like
Yeah.
You
I
know
don't
what it
think
was?
either way it matters to,
To me, it seems
They
like Best Animated-
politicized it. They were like, we don't want to give this motherfucker Best Picture because it's pushed by Netflix. So we'll give him Best. We'll
Language.
we'll
Which
we'll
it won
nominate
for,
him
which
for
it
Best
won for.
Picture, and we'll give him Best Foreign Film.
Yeah. So it won Best Language.
That was some political shit.
I know. Well, it is like this. Like if you have Best Animated Film also nominated for Best Picture, that would seem weird to you, wouldn't it? It's the
No.
same exact thing.
See, I don't
come
think
on,
the same
come
way.
on, man. Spider-Man
No.
Into the Spider-Verse was nominated for Best Animated Feature, also Best Picture.
That would be weird.
That wouldn't be weird for me.
Okay,
Really?
That's weird to
The
me.
reason why is 'cause I
Why
think,
have a separate category then?
Then it feels
Because
like
I think of
cheating.
it's a different
it feels
level.
cheating.
It feels like why have
Because
a
now
different
you're
category?
like.
do you think it's
double.
cheating that Lord of
'Cause
the
it does
Rings
feel
won
like-
10 awards?
No, but they were
No.
completely
Lord
different
of the Rings
awards.
should have won 30 awards.
That's the thing,
It
but-
won 13, right?
Yeah, it won 13. But that's the
14.
thing. It's like
I think it was
I think of them
everything it was nominated
as
for.
different
Yeah.
levels.
Yeah.
I think of them as different levels, and I feel like if you are good at different levels, you should win at
It's not different levels
I-
because it's saying it's the
I don't
best
know.
film.
I don't
is what
think-
it's
Best
saying.
foreign film
Best
and
foreign film
best
is the same
pictures,
as best
those are two
picture.
different
Let's just hope it never
categories,
happens
And I
again.
feel like
Okay.
if you win both, yeah.
All right, well that's
I mean,
slightly
it's just
off.
different point of views. It really is. Yeah.
All right, but anyways, Roma got nominated for all these things. It won Best Cinematography. It won Best Director. It won
Yeah.
Best Foreign Language Film. So it got nominated for all these awards,
Yeah.
right? And it won all these awards. The thing is, so Spielberg is like, I don't agree that a movie like that should be
It's a TV
nominated
movie.
for an Academy.
No, it's not.
That's his point. Hold on. Let me just
I
say.
mean,
Let me
technically-
Let him set up the battleground.
let me just put it all out there and then we'll discuss, okay? So he's like, I don't agree that this should be nominated. This is a TV movie. It is seen on a TV screen. It is a small format. The way it's being delivered to the audience is a small format film. So I don't agree that this should be in the Academy Awards. It shouldn't be nominated. So he wants to change it where you need to have a 4-week run in the theaters to be nominated for an Academy Award. Now, there's a lot of backlash. Again, I don't think Twitter is an honest depiction of the mind state of people. Like, who knows? It's basically just a bunch of people fucking screaming, and I don't know if anybody...
It's like
I just don't know if it's a proper snapshot of people's reaction. But there are people who are like, this is him just being exclusionary. This is him. He's trying to stop up and coming diverse directors. It's really becoming this whole major socio-political fucking argument.
not really.
And
I mean,
that's what a lot of people are saying.
It is.
but
on
the
Twitter.
articles online are only pulling like the tweets from
That's what
prominent
I'm saying. I
actors
don't know that's
and
a
producers that
exactly.
are negative on the subject.
When I say it's a lot, it's compared to how many people exist or how many people even probably have Twitter. It's probably not that
Netflix
many.
is probably
Here's how I know it's actually bullshit. So it's trending, and then it says how many tweets are talking about Spielberg, and it was 4,700 tweets
out of
about
what, like
Spielberg.
a trillion?
It's insane. And
Yeah.
this is why I'm like, fuck you, Twitter. You're lying to me with your goddamn trending. You're saying that, and it is a thing. Maybe they're just
Is it trending to you?
that's what it says for me,
Yeah.
because I'm into film and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, anyways, so this is his argument is this. Now, the people are trying to make it about him just being like he's a big successful guy that's just trying to keep his movies. No. And then obviously people are trying to start being like, oh, he's trash anyway. People get stupid, right? They get kindergarten-like about their fucking arguments. He hasn't made a good movie in fucking since Jaws. All right, shoot yourself in the face, please.
Yeah.
Here's the
Well,
thing.
don't do that.
Yeah.
No, you
we,
could.
we don't.
I'll be honest.
Metaphorically.
That
If I
only
don't
came
know
from
you,
Nick.
If I don't know you, you could do it. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it.
You know what's going on with YouTube right now, right?
What?
Yeah, they're censoring things, so
All right,
we
well.
just have to make sure that that's not.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
podcast,
people are
that's-
shooting themselves in the
No.
face. That's like where I thought this was.
We're gonna censor.
I don't
Nick.
want anybody really to die. Even the
I
people I,
thought
don't
this was like shoot yourself in the face challenge or something, and this
don't-
is like a
no.
trending.
Don't kill yourself, but minimally punch yourself in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, my
All right,
God.
so that's what's happening with Spielberg and the Academy, and there's a bunch of people. There's even some directors that are, or I guess you were saying.
Can we shorten
Ava
it?
DuVernay.
I'm ready to talk about it.
I'm actually trying to make sure it's
Yeah.
all out here before you start talking because I feel like you're getting.
I
No,
mean,
I've-
yeah,
no, I read-
there,
I read
there are
on
a couple
it.
people. There was like Ava DuVernay. I think it's Ava DuVernay.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
She tweeted like everybody does. She tweeted something about not being allowed to come to this meeting that Spielberg is going to be at or whatever. And then other people like Bruce Campbell and a couple other like random actors and.
Are against it.
No, they're just saying like, why would you want to change the rules that affect other people in the industry's ability to be acknowledged? Blah blah blah.
Right. Good. All right. Good. So that's that
it.
information. Now I have a shitload to say, but so
I get
does
both
Diego.
sides.
Yeah.
So Diego, go.
So this is what makes it difficult for me because I have two parts to this. One is that this is the first time that I actually disagree with Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
First time. Okay.
First time. I mean, he is.
So you agree
like,
with Richard Dreyfuss going with the spaceship and leaving his family at the end?
Yeah,
of Close
wouldn't
Encounters?
you?
No, not as a father. And Spielberg agrees with me now.
Spielberg
He
was
wasn't a
single
father
when
yet.
he made that movie.
Exactly.
So that's why he said he was
So-
okay with it. But as like now that he has kids, he's like, oh,
He's like, I wouldn't have done
I'm like,
that.
pussy.
Yeah, but I think the
You're gonna die alone.
the person that said it correctly was Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
She said times are changing. Things are changing in the entertainment world. And it's going to change whether we like it or not. So we have to embrace the good changes. It's a good change to have platforms like Netflix. Look at the artistry that came out of it.
Yeah.
So I think they should be represented. But I think the issue is not it's not the point that Steven Spielberg is saying this. I think the issue is that all these awards are outdated. They're not meant for how entertainment is coming out today.
Yeah,
it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I do. I
mean, because
agree,
if you're talking
to a
about
degree,
we
yeah.
have to come out with an award show for Netflix for those type of stuff, that's telling you that the award show right now is outdated.
Yeah.
If you're saying that, hey, we might want to start something new for this platform, for that platform, because these platforms are becoming popular, that means that the one award shows that are out right now, they're not doing their job. They're not including everybody who should be included, even if there are of different categories. That means there's categories missing.
Yeah.
So I understand where Steven Spielberg is coming from, but I don't feel like the issue stops at him. I think the bigger issue is the fact that the award ceremonies are outdated. And
They should
need
just
to,
have
they,
like
need, they need to have
like a best online picture or something,
no,
like a better sounding
streaming picture,
category than
streaming
that.
picture.
Yeah, best streaming
best
picture.
streaming
or something.
picture.
And
But I
that
still
would
think
like differentiate the two.
Right.
And then a category best all around picture, which includes
Just call it
any
Best
film
Picture.
that came out.
Yeah.
So then you can still have the best picture for theatrical release, and then you can have an best all around picture or best picture of the year award, which includes any platform.
Right.
Yeah.
So the only part I agree. Are you serious with this? Directly into the mic. Doesn't even try.
What's funny is like 10 minutes ago I went
I saw you do that. I love
like
you.
way far away, and then it just I forget.
Yeah. So the
It's
only
really early.
Yeah.
For me.
So the only part I agree with you on is that yes, maybe the Academy Awards are just outdated, and a lot of these award ceremonies are outdated. I get that. Here's what I disagree on. We're actually on opposite sides of this argument.
Are we? Is
I
that
agree with
something new?
Spielberg. No, I know something new, right? I agree with Spielberg. I really do. I think this is what I feel like people have this. Either they don't understand the experience that he's had either as a film goer and a filmmaker that he's trying to preserve. There is this thing, especially with how quick technology is going these days and how fast we are just to commoditize this basically what people are calling content now, as opposed to him it's film, right?
Yeah.
He's like, this is film. I grew up loving film. I became a filmmaker because I love film. And he loves that theater going experience. And he's saying, if we start making changes like this now without any sort of curbs, without any checks or balances, we are going to lose this experience. And I fucking agree with him because we're already starting to lose it, right? And then you start doing something as simple and you go, oh, it's just a blah, it's opening up the check. I'm like, yeah, you do that, okay? And this is like another nail in the coffin for theaters, for movie theaters. Because Academy Awards, you could leave all the other, like Golden Globes, everybody else. He's not talking about those ones. He's like, the Academy Awards are considered the most prestigious film awards. And he's like, if we could just keep that pure theater, pure cinema, the way...
At least while he's alive.
But that's
But the thing is, okay, I'll give you an example. Roma, right, which is the one that was nominated and won all these awards. I watched Roma on my 65-inch screen with my sound bar, and it looked and it sounded great. It was fantastic. And I thought this movie was incredible. I mean, like, cinematically, I mean, it makes sense that it won Best Cinematography from like an art standpoint. It was incredible with the smooth pans and the 360 shots and the tracking shots, and just it's so smooth, and everything was done like from her point of view, and everything else that was insane, the protests, the riots going along, it was all peripheral. It was fantastic. It was so good. And I sat there and I was like, I would have enjoyed this film even 100 times more if I saw it in a theater. Can you imagine seeing Roma on a huge screen with the surround sound of this theater with other people who are being impacted by this film, which was a beautiful, important film? It would have had so much more impact if it was in the theaters. Now I understand not everybody's going to theaters anymore. That's like another problem, and I think that's something that he and others are trying to address as well. It's not like they're not trying to address this issue.
I mean,
but
people will go for certain things.
Yeah,
right. And
fucking-
that's the thing they're trying to say is like people are not going to be putting things in theaters as much, and people aren't going to be putting going to the theaters as much. That is an issue, and I do understand that.
But we talked about this before. I feel that, and we talked about how going to a movie theater is going to become an art where it's going to become a Broadway type of feel, where you're going to that special location to watch this show.
Right.
And
well, that's what he's trying to make it.
It's sad.
I understand
actually,
that he's
if it
trying
does
to
become-
preserve-
If it diminishes to that point where it's like, you go once every couple of months to a theater to see a special viewing of something. Like if that's what it becomes, it's a sad
It's
future.
sad.
Yeah.
It's sad, and it's not outdated. It's not an outdated model to go to a theater with a huge screen, which is better quality than anything you're gonna get at home in terms of surround sound. And
if
that's
this is,
not an outdated concept. It's
but nobody's saying I'm not
it's
saying
still
it's
the highest
outdated.
quality you're gonna.
I'm not saying it's outdated because there's definitely
But it's so
there's
close
huge investment
to what you see at home.
But it's
Like
becoming that.
I don't.
Going from tube TVs to the movie theater was like insane.
You're talking
Like,
about
it was like-
resolution. You're
but
only
you-
talking about
I'm
resolution.
not talking about just like sound, everything, the whole
Your
experience.
wall at
like,
home isn't even as big as the movie screens
But when
themselves.
no,
The
I know.
size
But
of
when
the
you
screen
were
alone.
but see, that's just me trying to replicate that experience. But like when you were, a little kid and you had your little like 20-inch or whatever or 30-inch tube TV and you watched something on VHS with lines and all the shit and nonsense.
Yeah.
And then you go into the movie theater where you have this like 300-foot screen or whatever, and then the sound and the whole experience and the lights go down and the previews and all that.
Right.
Like you couldn't get that anywhere. But for the last 20 years or longer, you've been able to get that at home.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, and now even like, I almost wonder if like sitcoms themselves and shows like that, like these like almost like stage plays or whatever are on their way out because everybody wants everything they consume, film, TV wise or whatever, to all be this like super high quality. It made me think of like Altered Carbon. It's like you look at that show, that's literally like a 10 or 8 episode movie.
Right.
Like it's a full, insane, high quality
yeah.
movie. Like even Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah,
Like, it
which
sounds
they
like that
literally
whole show is basically like a 20-hour movie.
Well, they literally there was an article that talked about that show where season 2, and I'm pretty sure it's season 3 because how well it's doing. Each episode has gotten a movie budget, and also if you think of Game of Thrones, they also have gotten a film budget for literally their episode, which it's going to be like 90 minutes long.
I think that's what people want.
I think
people want
but that's
that.
what I'm saying. Is like times are changing, and how people view things change. Now, my dilemma with it going that route, where it's going to be like a Broadway thing, where it's going to be a selected areas where you can go to a movie theater and get this experience.
Got to drive to New York to go to
You
the
gotta
last
drive-
movie theater.
My problem is going to be
No.
I don't want it
when
to
I
be
was a young
I don't
man.
want it to be that limited, but I want it to feel when I go. I think when that starts happening, because I think it's going to be inevitable. I could be wrong on that. I think it's going to still keep it special in a way, where it's that thing that you go do on a special occasion. Because I think Steven Spielberg is, in a way, not fully, in a way, fighting a losing battle, because it's changing. Film in theater is not that grandeur anymore.
Well, you also have an entire generation that's growing up now
With
and has
Netflix.
been, but they're watching films on their cell phone.
On their cell phone,
They're
exactly.
they're acclimated to watching like a feature-length film on an airplane, on a bus trip to work, whatever, on the subway.
And if they want to,
on
they
this
can have.
shitty little. I mean, they're not shitty. It's not. Samsung phones are nice.
There's-
iPhones
no.
are shitty.
Yeah, right.
But,
It's shitty comparatively, though.
yeah, watching like I can't even imagine like my first time watching Jurassic Park on like my fucking iPhone, whatever.
But can
the
I ask
fuck.
you this?
Like,
How would you feel if you watched it in a VR setting with a theater mode? See, that's a whole
it's
different.
still. I
Nobody's
mean,
gonna
that's
do
a
that.
cool
No,
experience.
it's not the social experience,
And also, you can't.
but
really
they have
do it.
that option.
You can't sit in there for 2 hours with the VR headset.
Oh,
on.
I know I can't.
Yeah,
but
nobody
I'm
knows
not
that's
talking
the
for the
thing.
new generation who has grown up with this
I
technology.
think
we've
if the
arrived.
And now
VR
a
has
new
gotten
generation-
better than it is now,
Yeah.
like where it's like
And now they're
easier on
making
the
those
eyes
things-
and you can
yeah.
like do it for a long time. Then that
and now
would
they're
be
making
cool,
it
but-
lighter and easier to
But
wear.
still, like I don't know. I mean, there's so many movies that like that I saw in the theater as a kid, and even as an adult, that that theater impact is completely different. Sitting in a movie theater with like several hundred people that you don't know, and you're all reacting,
yeah.
the same way sometimes, or more often than not, the same way to every scene is like it's a very unique experience that you don't get at home. I mean, even if you're at home watching it with your family or friends, it's not the same experience as being in a movie theater.
100% agree.
It is right, and I think it's an important experience to keep the value of film. And I feel like we go, oh, but we want to get all these messages, the important messages of Roma and everything like that. I feel like those are lost to a degree when you start making so many of these things that are just literally there to be started and stopped at a whim all the time in a crazy amount. It loses value. It's literally the concept of inflation. The more you create and the more you just like fucking just shove out there, the value goes down. And that's he's trying to preserve art. And people aren't getting that because either they've never had that experience or they're just not thinking deeper. And they're just like, here's some white dude that's like, the highest level of this thing. He's a multi-billionaire.
Steven Spielberg surpasses race.
Yeah, they're like, fuck
Yeah, I know, right?
And there's just like this, I'm sorry, there's just like this disrespect of like, fuck this guy. I'm like, no, actually, fuck you. Like, that's how I feel. This is a guy who is created.
It's like all those people that were like, when was it Kanye did that thing with, who was it? It was Paul McCartney. And they're like, who does Paul McCartney guy's not so bad? He's not such a piece of shit.
Wow, he's
like
really
this no-name Paul McCartney who's
like, oh my
working
God.
with this god Kanye. And I'm like, this is the new generation. This is what
right.
your parents went through. This
Dude,
is what our parents
but
went
there's
through.
even people my age that are saying some stupid ass shit. But I'm like, you're talking about this guy and you're like, oh, what? He did E.T. and Close Encounters and Jurassic Park, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, first off, not blah, blah, blah. But also, this is the guy who did Schindler's List, The Color Purple, Munich, Saving Private Ryan. Like, this guy has made important films.
No,
with really
he
deep
curated
messages.
standards for what we see today.
Exactly. So
you
I'm
can't
like,
take that
so
away.
let's not pretend this isn't a guy who has a wider view of this thing, right? Now, he's trying to preserve the value of film, and we just go, well, it's just this like off the cuff scoffing that I don't agree with. I'm like, this is an important debate. He's trying to bring an argument, a side that I don't think enough people are thinking with. And Christopher Nolan's doing this, Quentin Tarantino's doing this, Scorsese's doing this. These are guys who I think add a lot of value to film, and they're
100%.
trying to bring this argument of like, please, let's stop making these things.
I don't think any of these guys. You don't. When you say film, you don't mean like physical film. You just mean like.
I mean,
because I don't think any of them shoot on film.
every
now.
single
They all
person
shoot
I
in
just
8K.
Steven's-
every person I just named except for Spielberg is mainly film.
And he
Tarantino
recently
only uses film.
switched. And he just
only use
recently
film.
switched.
Yeah,
They're the only
yeah,
ones
exactly.
keeping those
Yeah.
the Panavision company in business.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
like nobody.
Tarantino said he's like I became a filmmaker to work with film, with the physical film. He goes, there's a look to film that has not been duplicated. And Nolan said the same thing, that has not been duplicated by digital yet. He's like, we're so quick to go for the cheap option of digital because we can make so much so fast and so cheaply that we forget to stop and go, this doesn't look the same as film. Film has a very specific, like the saturated, the colors you can get from it, the things you can copy and onto film is not something you could do with digital.
Yeah.
It's a copy as opposed to like a direct light fucking shining on this thing and melting this image onto a film, you know?
Yeah.
And that's that. And it is true. There's a reason why you can look at a film from 20 years ago and go, God, it's got something to it, man. There's something to that image that feels missing, even on the smaller budget stuff too. Like you look at a romantic comedy from 25 years ago and you look at a romantic comedy today, you're like, today's look like somebody wiped it with their ass. With you know what I mean? Like there's something that's not good.
What?
You get what I'm saying? Like it just
Details on there.
it looks so like glossy, so
I mean,
shiny.
I think
almost.
it depends on the filmmaker and how they use the technology at the time. Like,
Yeah, I'm just that's fine. I'm just saying there is.
I
Something
do know
to
what you
film.
mean, though.
Yeah.
There's a
There's
difference.
definitely a
Yeah,
difference.
there's definitely a
Right.
difference.
I think when they shot with film, everybody was using film, so everything had the same look.
Exactly.
And now you have so many variations of digital and so many
Right.
ways to manipulate that digital image that you didn't have before.
Right.
That now it's like you don't know what the fuck you're going to get with digital. It's
Exactly.
all over the place. It depends. It's down to the director and what.
But it goes.
Right.
It
how
goes
he
back
wants
to.
to modify it. But 30 years ago, they didn't modify
Yeah.
shit.
Right.
It was
But it
like
goes-
that was the film.
It goes
Whatever
back
fuck they
to
filmed
the
was
fact
film.
that
and they
films-
just chopped it together.
Film started as silent film.
Yeah.
Then sound got introduced into film, so they had to, implement that. And when all that started happening, when the awards came out, you had to have these awards for these different things.
Yeah.
Now there's something different. There's something new, and this is where I'm in the. I don't know my stance in this, but I respect both sides of it. I respect Steven Spielberg and all these filmmakers them keeping the film part of it important, because I think it is very important. I think going to the theater is an unduplicated experience.
Right.
Just like watching it on film and watching digital, it's not.
Right, and even theater digital film, I wasn't trying to exclude. Like, digital film does have its place, and I think it should be in the theater as well.
But I also think that the problem is not Steven Spielberg nor Netflix. The problem is that these award systems that are representing these awards, and they're not up to date.
I don't disagree. A best streaming film is not a bad idea. I wouldn't argue against that. Best streaming film as a category, I wouldn't argue against that.
But the thing is that I feel I go. I hate to say it this way, but I go against Steven Spielberg. Is I think the problem, the changes that are happening, is that the film that's important to him, the theater film, is not the main category anymore. It's not staying as strong as a main category. So that's it's going to be like a best foreign film. Well, best film in theater.
That's interesting, though, that you mentioned that, because in the article I read about this Spielberg situation is that Netflix spent upwards of, they estimated, upwards of $50 million pushing Roma
into theaters.
Promoting Roma to the Academy.
You have to do that.
That was how much.
Just
and
in
they
case
said
anybody
that,
doesn't know, for the Academy Awards, it's not like they just like
it's like political shit.
You have to campaign for yourself and your films.
Yeah,
it's a
that's
real
crazy. $50 million on this movie that's supposed to bring light to like this entire group of individuals that are considered like a lower class, invisible minority class. And then they're just shitting out money, like the uber rich to promote this thing.
Here's the thing:
just to get this acknowledgement that Netflix can make Oscar movies or whatever. Like, that's really all they wanted.
Right.
Like, I don't think the Netflix guys are like humanitarians.
And people are pushing
something.
like this is about up and coming director. I'm like, first off, Alfonso Cuarón is an established director.
Yeah.
He did Gravity. He's done major films.
Yeah.
So this is not giving a voice to like an up and coming director. I
He
just
won
want him
prior to that. I thought, didn't he?
Gravity.
Steven Spielberg is not trying to go against anything.
Yeah, and he's a great director, and it's an important film, and it does give voice to what the subject matter is. But I just want to make people understand that when we're talking about Roma as an example, this is not some up and coming filmmaker that's got some new, unique point of view. That's like a 25-year-old, whatever. He's an established director.
Mexico's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, he did like an indie. You know what I mean?
Nobody's. Steven Spielberg is international.
Steven Spielberg is Mexico's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. He's the Latin. Yeah,
that's true.
Steven Spielberg is not trying to say, "Oh, I don't want these people to have opportunity." That's not what he.
No, that's not.
Not at all. So if you're interpreting that way, you're wrong. Steven Spielberg is trying to protect what he loves. Yeah. That's it.
We would expect nothing less from him.
And no, 100%. Yeah. And so I just think the problem is not him, and it's not these. It's like I said, it's these awards. They're not. It's the awards, and it's the change in time.
Right.
I just don't think they're gonna do a streaming award.
They might. They were trying to do best popular film last year. Why wouldn't they do a best streaming? They
were gonna have a category.
They announced the category best popular film. They had a category, and it got so much backlash that they got rid of it. It was supposed to be. They announced it. It was like for a month or two they were gonna have this best popular film category. They were like, that was an official
thing.
Did
they list who the nominations
I don't think
were?
no, because nominations hadn't come out yet, but they had announced it. So it would have had like Black Panther and everything. So the thing they ended up doing is nominating Black Panther for best film.
Oh, I did want to just say, like, so Netflix spent this amount of money. They said that like the people behind Green Book, which won Best Picture, spent a fraction
It was like
of
20
that.
million or something.
It was like I think it was less than that. They said it was.
It may have been less. Yeah, I don't actually know.
It was like like $5 million or something.
I hate the fact that you have to, in a way, buy an award.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. It feels like because they're lobbying for their movie.
I hate awards.
I get it, but
I think people should be recognized when they do incredible and great things, but I don't think that you should put people in a position where they have to pay to earn that greatness when they already earned it.
Well, it's the
by
studio that's paying because they know that if it gets Best Picture, they're going to get more money.
This goes to your point, which is,
are
and this is a different argument, but I don't disagree with this argument, which is, do these awards even fucking matter? They're really just promotional. They don't. I agree with that sentiment more.
They
if
matter
we're-
to
we're
people
gonna-
in the industry.
Yeah, and it
not
would matter to me. If I
us.
won an Academy Award, I would care. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's because it's a recognition.
Exactly.
It can like alter the state of your career.
That's right.
You know, and that's awesome.
And that exactly, and from that point of view, I understand that completely. And we have so many awards,
Did you see
right?
Spike Lee?
Yeah, okay. So
You
we have so
lost
many.
it.
All right. So we have so many awards. We have Golden Globes. We have the Spirit Awards. We got the SAG Awards. We have the, we have all these things. We have the Academy Awards. We have the Emmys. If you want to do TV movies. So we've got all of these things, right? So it's sort of like, can't we just? He's not arguing any of the other ones. He's just like, can we preserve the Academy Awards for theater? That's all he's saying. Can we preserve that for theater films? Is that really such a bad argument? You know what I mean? Golden Globe is a really good, big honor too. You know what I mean? Getting an Emmy for a TV movie, that's a pretty big deal. This is not like these aren't big deals. He's just saying, can we preserve the Academy Awards? So I'm like, if you're going to care about awards, I understand, wanting this to be preserved for theater. If you're going to bring the argument of, I don't think awards matter at all, then I'm like, I agree with you on that. But I'm like, if we're going to care about them, then I think that should be preserved for theater. I did want to read this real quick, just the Ava DuVernay thing, what it actually said, just so that we...
Clear.
Her tweet was, "Dear at the Academy, this is a Board of Governors meeting and regular branch members can't be there. But I hope if this is true that you'll have filmmakers in the room or read statements from directors like me who feel differently. Thanks, Ava DuVernay."
Yeah.
Which I thought was good. I mean, she
Yeah.
was basically saying, I don't agree with Steven Spielberg. Here's my voice and here's what I'm saying, which I agree. I think it should be a debate. I don't think it should be,
I don't even understand how the story broke. Did Steven Spielberg announce to the media that he was doing this, or is this just some rumor shit floating around and now all these people are reacting?
IndieWire reported it, so they basically got the information.
Inside.
It's such a weird.
It's an insider thing.
But it's
right,
all,
but it's probably true.
To me,
It's
that's
probably
bullshit.
true.
That's
But-
like sabotaging Spielberg's
I know.
whole thing. Like,
Exactly.
This is like
I think if
the
it was, he
Ghostbusters
would've-
thing where
Yeah.
people just are reacting and they don't really have all the information.
Right.
Yeah, I think if it was. But here's the thing. And it goes back to where I was saying where the award ceremonies are outdated. Now, if Roma and Netflix followed the rules and regulations of the Academy Awards by putting it in theater for whatever length of time, whatever, to be nominated within the Academy Awards, how is Netflix doing something wrong? They're not.
Right.
They're following the rules and they're following.
They are.
They're
not breaking a rule.
They're not breaking the rules. So this is where I say is that
Yeah, but that's like
It's
saying like,
outdated.
a presidential candidate that comes in and spends like $1 trillion on his presidency or his candidacy and then becomes president, and people are like, well, he didn't break the rules technically, but he spent
did.
more money than the history
Anybody-
of the
and
world.
he did.
bought the
I'm
presidency.
not
Bought
saying
the
it's wrong or right.
presidency.
I'm just saying,
They're
but the
essentially
rules are there.
buying their wins. Like,
Their
that's
rules
how
are
it
there,
feels.
but that's the system.
That's
the
what-
rules,
that's
and
what
this
he's
is
trying
what
to
I'm
do.
saying.
They're
It's
abusing the
outdated.
system.
But hold
They
on.
didn't
That's what
break
I'm
the
saying.
rules, but they're
The
abusing
rule-
the system.
the
And that's
systems
what Spielberg's trying to do is
is
change the
outdated.
rule. But that's what Spielberg is trying to do is
Yeah.
change the rules. That's all this is about, is him going to this thing to speak to change rules. He wants the rule to change that they need a 4-week run in theaters. That's what he's saying, to be nominated for an Academy Award. Now, Martin Scorsese, he has this movie called The Irishman coming out in Netflix, right?
Yeah.
With Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and
Yes.
Joe Pesci. Big movie. We finally saw a teaser for it. It's gonna be amazing. It's like a $125 million film.
Yes.
And Scorsese
150.
notoriously is it 150 now.
I think it's 150.
That's crazy. So
It's huge.
he's notoriously against Netflix too and against streaming. He's the guy who says, I don't make content, I make films. That's how he talks. You know, and I don't make content, I make
content,
films.
I make films,
And that is what Scorsese does. He's like, I'm a filmmaker. I'm not trying to. You start calling it content and it becomes just diluted and it becomes this weak
Dude,
sauce.
Netflix releases like 60 brand new pieces of content
Yes.
onto their service every month, like original
How many of
films.
those are completely disappear into the ethers? We
They
don't even know
all
they
disappear
exist.
into the ether,
Unless
man.
it's promoted.
But see, that's what I'm saying.
Unless it's promoted like Roma. The reason why Roma didn't disappear
Yeah.
is because it was promoted and marketed by Netflix, which is fine.
I hadn't even heard of Roma until you mentioned it.
I hadn't heard of
wow.
it until it got nominated, I think. That's actually where
I
I
watched-
knew.
I have
Yeah,
watched it.
because it got promoted to me.
A lot of the films at the Oscars.
I mean, again, it was a great film. It would have been 100 times more impactful if I saw it on a huge screen with a bunch of other people. That's just me. I think I would have gotten up.
Really?
100%. No, when you see that film,
100 times.
I'm just making up a fucking number, you asshole. So
Well, like 30% more impactful.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
yes,
Be
it would've
accurate
been
with your
significantly-
ratios, okay?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Can you-
25 to 1.
Let's rate it in.
Yeah. But can you see that how beautiful that film is?
100%.
And it's just that up on a huge
Well,
screen.
97.
They did a
7.8%.
limited run for 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then
Totally.
Netflix apparently does this thing where they take 100%. They basically buy the theater.
Yeah.
They rent the theater. They don't go through a distributor. So they
Right.
do the shady shit where instead of going through a distributor, which is forced to report their earnings to like what's the company called? Anyway, there's a
Yes.
company that like
Yeah.
handles all the earnings or whatever from movie runs. They rent the theater for 2 weeks to accommodate the Academy, and then for all we know, there could be nobody in those seats doing anything, and they made no money, and they just did this as a big farce, like every time they released a movie in the
it's
theater.
just weird. It's a weird thing that they got to do. But here's what's the Irishman,
It's
right?
shady.
Yeah. So the Irishman is coming out, and he demanded. So it's a huge movie, and he's demanding a wide release in theaters.
Scorsese.
For the Irishman, yes. And I like that. Like I'm like
Yeah.
fine. So Netflix, it is your movie. You could be like a studio in that way. You fund a film and then you put it out in theaters, and that just brings more promotion to your platform. And then when it's done in theaters, it goes to your Netflix platform immediately. What's wrong with that system? They
have
should
to
be
go through a
doing that.
distributor.
So if they want these movies to be nominated for Academy Awards, they should be some of the larger films and put in a wide release in theaters, which is just you just use your marketing dollars for it. It's not that big a deal.
But that breaks. I think the issue that Netflix is going to have with that,
and then it goes right on their platform.
is the fact that they keep numbers hidden. That's their.
I know
thing.
they do.
They keep.
They don't want people
they
to
keep
know how much money they're
viewerships and
making.
But
it's an interesting platform. It's not bad, but it's not fully good because they protect the people that aren't getting a lot of views. And
True.
they allow
And
everybody
there's
to
no
almost
pressure on the
be in an
filmmakers.
equal.
There's no pressure on the filmmakers.
And there's exactly.
And I
There's no
get that.
pressure.
And it is
so-
a great fucking platform
But
for breaking through. Like if I got a movie on Netflix tomorrow, I'd be fucking singing Netflix praises. I get it. I'm not even shitting on that. I'm just saying it's a different avenue. We can keep delineation. We can put up walls.
What you're that's essentially what you're
They can
saying.
put up walls.
I equate it to like Elon Musk. Like Elon Musk is making these electric cars,
Not anymore.
like available. No, he's going online now.
No.
They're closing all of their
They did
stores.
Tesla for $35,000. They just announced.
Yeah,
the
he to
Model
reach
3.
the $35,000 Tesla Model 3, they had to close
the
all
physical
their
stores.
Well, not all of them.
Online
but-
sales only. It's online sales only.
So,
That's
but
what
even
it
that is crazy. Like, who's buying cars online
Yeah.
other than like that Carvana site
Right.
or whatever that just popped up a few years ago? So, my point is that Netflix, in a way, is like imagine the world we lived in before. We had Blockbuster, we had Hollywood Video, we had whatever local video store you had in your area, and then we had movie theaters.
Right.
So we were able to go to a physical place, rent a thing, come
Yeah.
home, and our content was severely limited on what we could consume, which is
Yeah.
probably better for humanity. But anyway, now we live in a world where you have access to almost everything instantaneously if it's on a streaming service like Netflix and all that stuff. And in a way, it's like, wow, this is amazing that this world exists, and this is what I always wanted when I was at home watching that one movie over and over and over and over and over and over again because I wanted more content,
Right.
more things like this, and now I have it, but now I kind of like it's too much.
Yes.
So there's like a good side and a bad side. Like Netflix is great in that respect that it gives you all this options, and all this content that you can consume, but on the same hand, it like you said earlier, it diminishes the value of the content
Right.
itself because there's so much. Like
Inflation.
yeah, I watched
Yeah.
like Lost in Space, the Netflix show. 8 episodes, 10 episodes, whatever
Yeah.
it was. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like I think back to like older, serialized shows or whatever that I watched in the past where it was like 10, 20 episodes or whatever. And I'm like thinking of that and then looking at what we get now. And I just blew through it. I was like, whoop, whoop, like, and, watched the whole thing in like one day or whatever. And I was like, on to the next thing.
Right.
But I could never, like, my ability to stop and appreciate what I'm consuming is like,
Yeah.
diminished. I just want to get on to the next high of whatever
It's
the
not
next show
valued.
is.
It's not valued anymore. The art
I
is
like-
actually less valued.
But I do understand like the argument against getting tied up in the whole political system that is like film distribution. Like that is a system that's been around for a long time, and Spielberg is part of that system, and he's had to deal with that system his entire life. Where to get his films out, he had to make deals and agreements with
Yeah.
all the different
Yeah,
distributors.
it's
like
a
AMC
bigger
and all them.
problem. But I feel like if he doesn't make this fight for at least this one thing right now, it's like you just start to lose another thing and another thing and another thing. And next thing you know, things do disappear. I don't think people realize this.
I don't think Netflix wants people going to the movie theater.
And things, right. No, I get it. They're the anti-theater system. Yeah. So they're fighting
you look at your cell phone.
Exactly. So the thing is, I don't think people realize things disappear. Did you know that more than 50% of the films made before like 1940 or 1950 or whatever are gone forever? Like they are no longer here. Things disappear.
Is that true?
People, yes. No, that's 100%. There's a
like
huge film restoration. Like they just disintegrated over time. Like then nobody was preserving them properly because nobody was paying attention to the little things that added up to a big thing in the long run.
You mean like when they lost the Apollo 11 footage?
Exactly, yeah. Kubrick lost it on a hard drive is actually what it was.
Oh, all
right. So but that's a real thing.
He should have uploaded it to YouTube.
Yeah, things. There's this thing called short-sightedness where you're just thinking of this, and again, these people that are on this opposite side of the argument might argue, no, we're thinking big, long-sighted, far-sighted about this. We're trying to see beyond just the one person or the two people to making the theater movies. We're looking at everybody and opening up avenues, and I do understand that. But just be willing to have the debate on both sides and willing to go, I see that point, which I do. I see both points, and I also see the point, which is that if he doesn't make certain things trying to preserve this theater model, that the value of film, the value of the art itself is most likely going to go down, inevitably. And he's trying to preserve that because he doesn't think that film deserves that. He thinks it deserves a higher pedestal as an art form. And I did want to relate a story about Martin Scorsese that kind of illustrates these guys' dedication to film, which is I saw this video where Quentin Tarantino is relating this story, this legend in Hollywood about Martin Scorsese and the movie Taxi Driver. And he says, I don't know if this story is 100% true, but I did see an interview with Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese where they both kind of confirmed this story, which is when Martin Scorsese finished Taxi Driver, the MPAA rated it X, right? Which is terrible. You don't want that. That's not good for marketing. You can't really get a lot of people to see your movie when it's rated X because of violence. So he thought the studio...
Was that at that time where they only had PG, R, and X?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I don't think they had NC-17. I don't think, anything like that. But things were getting... Midnight Cowboy got an X rating, and it's just not good for marketing your film.
All it means is you have to be over 18, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you can't, rated R, you can at least go with, a kid can go, but they can go with an adult. Anyways, it's just exclusionary. People, it puts a bad taste in your mouth, especially in 77. So he thought, okay, the studio executive that's running me on this studio, they're going to back me up or whatever. And they were totally unsympathetic to his plight. They were like, I don't care, slash your film, edit your film down, get it to a rated R. I don't care what you got to do. And Scorsese, being an artist and being like, I've just made a masterpiece. Taxi Driver is an incredible film. It's revolutionary and everything. He's like, I've made a masterpiece. This is my Sistine Chapel. This is my Mona Lisa of film. So he was really distraught over this. And he couldn't believe the studio was just like, slash your film down to get a rated R. So he basically sat all night drinking himself heavily with a loaded gun. Okay? And his plan, again, this is a legend. This has not ever been confirmed, but it kind of has been, which is he was going, I'm going to kill, I guess the only thing I can do is I'm going to murder the studio executive in the morning. Okay, I'm gonna just do that because he's trying to.
New Yorker.
Yeah, he's trying to make me edit my film. I can't believe this. So now I'm gonna kill the guy. So he's drinking. He's got the loaded gun. He's obviously debating this within himself. I don't know if he's really was like, I'm absolutely gonna kill him, but he's like, maybe I should just shoot the fucking guy in the morning like that. I can't believe he would.
Seems like such
violate
a
me.
non-solution.
It's insane, right? So then people started coming over. Some of his director friends, including Steven Spielberg, came over and talked to him, and he started to look inside and look in within himself. He says, "Is there a better solution to this? Is there something else I can do instead of murder this man and go to prison for life
and not have my movie released?"
Yes, and still not have my movie released. So he goes, okay, you know what I'll do? I'll go to the scene at the end, the shootout scene at the end, that small scene, and I'll take the saturation down by 2 degrees, and it changes the bright red blood to a maroon color. It changes it to a maroon color, so it's kind of easy. It's more palatable to the audience, and that got him the rated R. So that's all he had to do. So his choice as a filmmaker was to murder a man who dare suggest that he edit this film, which is a masterpiece, or just bring the saturation down for 2 degrees for like a minute scene or whatever, and change the color of the blood. But that was his dedication to his art and the art of film. Okay, and I know that sounds like an insane, crazy story, and he was doing a lot of cocaine at the time. So
Yeah, that sounds like drugs.
No. I get it, but my point being, these guys were these pack of directors at the time: Francis Ford Coppola, Brian De Palma, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, were these group of directors who changed film forever in the 70s. These are the guys who literally revolutionized. They created the blockbuster film. They created the raw film that did not. No holds barred films that we now, everything today is practically influenced by these guys and what they did in the 70s. My point is they're dedicated to the art of film. So to just think that it's a business decision is not accurate.
Oh no, I don't think anyone
no, I don't think
thinks
that-
that Spielberg thinks he's trying to make money off of excluding Netflix or something.
Right,
like that.
but that's the argument that's being made is this is some
Really?
big exclusionary, multi-million-dollar, big successful director trying to shit on the little people.
Well,
That is the argument.
whoever's
billionaire.
saying that is
Spielberg is a
That's the
billionaire.
other. That's the
is an
part of the
idiot.
argument. Yes.
The whole thing is that he's protecting his art. I feel that 100% that Steven Spielberg and these directors are protecting their art. But while you're talking, things are changing. Just like there was only the PG, the R, and the X. They had to add on. The M17. They had to
NC-17,
the PG,
yeah.
NC-17. They had to add in PG-13. Those things got added on to allow more.
They changed. Things changed with the
things
times.
change, and things are changing now.
Exactly.
And so
There's a compromise in between all this.
exactly
That's the thing I agree with.
yeah. And so the thing is that I feel that the sad thing is that theater films are not going to become going to stay as the prestigious award. They're going to become a secondary award, just like, Best Picture, not Best Picture, Best Foreign Film. They're going to be an award like that because how we've grown into film has become so broad, it's almost in a way uncontrollable. I mean, you think of YouTube. YouTube is uncontrollable how much content comes out. When it comes to Netflix, all these other platforms and how films are coming out, the platforms that are coming out almost yearly now, different platforms for films are just ridiculous.
Right. Yeah.
Just ridiculous. And so films have become, in a way, content. And it's sad, it's so sad, like for me to say films have become content, but that's what it has. So I think that is something that's inevitable. And when things just can't be preserved, I think that's also something that's going to be inevitable because we can't hold on. It's like the world goes into this motion where things just shift forward. We are born, we learn, we do things, we invest into our kids, and their kids take the knowledge that we've taken and they grow with that, and the same thing that's happening in film. People create the first film, the next generation came and took that and developed it, and so on and so on. And it's something that's inevitable. Change is going to happen. It's not going to end. So where does film fit in that? And I think that Steven Spielberg, in a way, he's fighting an unwinning battle because that change literally can't be stopped. But there can be a special place for it. Like I said, like Broadway. Majority of people don't go to Broadway shows, but it's still
Well, it's
super
more of a location thing.
successful.
It's because it's
No, there's tons of people, like financially wise, there's tons of people that fly to shows to see it, and I think that's where
the
it's going
tickets
to
are
be
like
preserved.
thousands of dollars
Yeah,
sometimes.
but I think that's where it's going to be preserved.
I don't think we're ever going to lose the theater model.
I don't think
but
so.
I think it's going to be things like this that argue against it and debate and fight the battles. And I don't think these are unwinnable battles. I think that, and maybe the Academy won't be the battle that's won or whatever. Maybe they won't. But I just think that if there's still people out there fighting for the theater model and fighting for that as an important venue for film, and not to just lump everything into one category and keep some sort of delineation, I think we'll be fine.
I think I agree with both. I think we're basically heading towards this thing with the Academy specifically in these award shows where they just want to acknowledge the art itself.
Yes.
And just because you release your product on a digital streaming platform doesn't mean it's not the same art
Right.
that is shot on film
Yeah,
and released
it's
in
true.
the movie theater.
True.
So filmmakers are going to make their content. They're going to, make whatever deals they make with whoever is offering the best deal. And if it's Netflix, if it's Amazon, if it's Hulu, if it's Fox or, Warner Brothers or whatever, that's who they're going to go with.
But are less people going to push for theaters because it's sort of like everybody's like, oh, but I can just win an Academy Award by putting it on Netflix. Like,
but here's
that's
the thing.
He's trying to say, hey, listen, you start taking away the incentives for making movies.
Who are these people
for the
that make films to just win Academy Awards?
No,
I don't think those people exist. I think people make films to tell stories they want to tell, and maybe they think, oh, well, this could be an Academy, winner. But I don't think they go out of the way like. The screenwriter's like, oh, this is...
Well, maybe on a completed film, they're like, well, we want to get... Maybe when it's completed, they're sort of like, it's a promote. The Academy Awards are a promotional avenue, right? They're marketing.
Are that
That's
way.
what I'm saying. So they're like, oh, we want to get in the award season, so now it needs to go in theaters. But if you take away that thing, then they're like, oh, we don't need to put in theaters.
It's not just that. It's like the Academy is made up of people within the industry. So it's like an acknowledgement of your peers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's the more admirable aspect of the Academy. It's not
the
that
people of old.
You're going to make 10x the amount of money.
But here's the thing: you got to think about that.
Taking away the incentive is all I'm saying.
We're just mentioning Netflix right now. This is literally the big.
Only because that was the one that was nominated.
But what I'm saying is
wait till that Lord of the Rings show gets
you're talking about
Amazon Prime, son.
Amazon Prime's getting ready to drop some
Jeff
major
Bezos.
stuff. You're talking about
Jeff Bezos is my hero.
Disney starting to have their streaming content. All these platforms are coming out, which is going to make the situation more complicated. This is what I'm saying, is that times are changing. And the issue to me is not the fact that it's a versus Spielberg versus Netflix, is the fact that these award ceremonies are outdated and they
should take into account streaming. Yeah.
They don't encompass mass. And I think they should add categories where best streaming pictures. I think film is going to be moved into a secondary category, and they're going to need to come out with something like a best all-around picture to kind of because everybody still is going to want the competition between different platforms.
But all of these movies that come out in theaters end up streaming anyway. Almost all of them end up on a streaming platform. So technically, they all could be considered ultimately streaming.
But here's the thing about theater films.
It originated on streaming platforms.
Yeah, but like the studio that like releases Infinity War is going to release it in theaters. Is going to make $1 billion, and then they're going to release it on streaming with Netflix and make another $1 billion. So it's like I don't know.
But here's the thing, though, like. Films that go to theater are still considered the big dogs. And that's the thing, is that these other platforms want to compete against the big dog and be acknowledged as a big dog, and that's what's happening.
Diego, size matters. That's the whole thing.
I know. I'm
like
Brazilian.
The big screen.
I'm Brazilian. I know. So,
I was just referring to big movie screens and small televisions.
Not penises.
No, this wasn't a penis thing.
I was referring to big and tall too.
Man, everybody's always thinking about that penis.
What are you talking about?
What penis? That penis?
I don't know.
That one over there?
The one.
I was referring to big and tall. So, anywho.
But you see what I'm saying? Like people, because it's a giant screen and you have that huge experience, and then you're at home and you can go to the store right now and buy like a 70-inch 4K TV for like $500. Like they're crazy cheap now. So you can get a similar experience that you didn't get 20 years ago or whatever, 10 years ago. But to go into the movie theater is like, especially these IMAX theaters. But every time we've been to the IMAX, the last 3 times, theater has been kind of empty.
Yeah.
Like literally 2 times we went.
But you guys go at odd times.
It was like the place we go though is out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you guys go at odd
times.
times.
Don't matter, man. Like that's crazy. That you and me are sitting in an IMAX theater. It was like me, you, and my brother went to see Predator, and it was like 6 people.
Yeah.
What time did you guys go?
Theater that could hold like
at
600
night on a weekday. It was not Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but it was a weeknight.
Yeah,
it was like a weeknight.
But
but still, it was like I was like, well, where the fuck?
But if we went to the one in the city, that would have been way more packed up. That place I think has issues with getting people to go to.
It's awesome. I love it. I fucking love it because you have like the whole IMAX to yourself. It's like finding a diamond
in the rough. It's like
yeah.
All right.
All
so
right.
I think that was good. That was good on our final thoughts.
Yeah, that was a good debate. It was like middle.
But I have
ground.
more final thoughts.
No, fuck
you.
That.
Always.
Oh,
do.
I did have one more thing.
It's like Marvel. It's like post-credit scenes.
The Irish.
You go ahead and end it.
No. The Irishman. It's $200 million budget. I just googled it.
Really?
Isn't that fucking
awesome.
insane?
That's
Netflix
awesome.
just giving Scorsese like whatever the
I
fuck
can't
he
wait
wants.
to see it.
The balance.
Scorsese's in my
It's
top
gonna be
5.
Waterworld too. Come on, man. Fuck. What? Too much money.
You
Scorsese
need-
doesn't know what to do with $200 million.
I'm about to slap people just for a living. I swear to God right now. All right.
All right, people, let us know what you think about this topic. It's very interesting. We want to know your thoughts. So get down with what the fuck? Get down.
Get
Get down. What the fuck? Yeah, I
Get
don't know.
down,
I don't know.
get
I was
down.
getting the boogie in it. Yeah.
Jungle Boogie.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us here
Jungle
at
Boogie.
Get to the Podcast. That's Get to the Podcast with the number 2. My name is Diego D'Souza.
I'm Nick Gambino.
And I'm Neil Carson.
Jungle Boogie. Jungle Boogie. Jungle Boogie.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.